Hello everyone, I am Sharad Paliwal, PGT Computer Science, KV number 1 Udhampur, and today I am here with the topic idea of program efficiency. Basically, this presentation has been prepared for class 12th computer science students. In this topic, we discuss different aspects of program efficiency, the big O notation, how to calculate the time complexity and space complexity. So most important thing while we design a program is we always focus on the correctness of the program. It means the program should produce correct results. And this correctness of the program is known as the effectiveness. But sometimes merely if performance in terms of correctness of the program is not the perfect one. We consider another aspect of the program that is known as efficiency. The performance is mostly observed in real-time applications. And now the question is, what is real-time application? There are two types of processing modes for data. The first one is offline mode and the second one is online mode. In offline mode, we emphasize the entry of the data, but at that time processing is not started. We focus on the entry of the data but not going to focus on the processing. So in offline processing mode, while we enter the data, processing doesn't start. While in online processing mode, whenever we enter the data at that particular time, the data processing is also started. A real-time mode of processing is another type of online processing mode in which we also fix the deadline to complete the processing of data. That is, we decide the time at what time the processing will start and also decide the time, the deadline in which the processing must be completed. So that type applications are known as real-time applications in which we decide the deadline or completion time. So efficiency refers to the quality of algo and it is an important feature while we work on real-time applications. So what efficiency says? Efficiency says the code must perform the task in minimum execution time and resources. That is, it should use optimum resources and minimum time in consideration of these resources. So an algo, what is an algo? An algorithm is a step-by-step method to solve a particular problem. And a good and efficient program starts with an efficient and simple algo. Always keep in mind, an algo must follow a simple process, not a very complex process. So always a good algo follows a simple process. There is another aspect. When a program is designed by two different programmers, they may use different algos or they use different styles of programming to perform or to achieve a particular or same task. So the efficiency of such different programs may also vary, and it simply depends upon the number of resources and the numbers of codes or number of lines of statements they are going to use. So what we should keep in our mind, to design a low size program. What is low size program? A low size program that have minimum number of lines of codes and number of operations and low resources. And what are these resources? These resources are CPU time, these resources are memory, these resources are other input output devices. So design a low size and low resource algo low resources algorithm results in an efficient program. What are the factors? Those decide that a program is good or bad. In fact, what are the factors which influence the program? So performance of an algo depends on many internal and external factors, and the internal factors I have already discussed: the time required to run and the space required to run, space in terms of memory. And the external factors are size of your program, speed of your computer, and quality of the compiler. We can compromise, or we can control these external factors. How? By changing the computer, by installing or downloading an upgraded version of compiler. ठीक है, but we can't control the internal resources, that is the time required to run and the space required to run. So now the next term is, what is computational complexity? It contains two words. The first word is computational, and the second word is complexity. So what is computation? All of you know it very well. Computation means to solve a problem using an algo. And what is an algo? Again, an algo is a step-by-step sequence of operations to do a particular task. And what is complexity? Complexity means how much resources like time and space is needed to run the algo or needed to run the program. That is, complexity quantifies the resources. What is the meaning of quantify? Quantify means it represents it in numbers. How much resources you have to need to run your program. So effectiveness means that the algo carries out the intended function correctly, but the efficiency means algo should be correct with the best possible performance. Effectiveness is saying that the output should be correct as per our expectation, but the efficiency says that the output should be correct as per our expectation, but using minimal number of resources, or using optimum resources. So to measure efficiency, we determine complexity. So efficiency of programs in terms of time, there are two kind of time we are discussing. The first one is wall clock time and the second one is CPU time. The first one refers to the time with which we deals. The wall clock time, that is the time taken by a program to complete the task, but this time is as seen by the user. Wall clock time. What is wall clock time? Wall clock time is the completion of whole program from very beginning, from starting of the compilation to printing of the result. And what is CPU time? The CPU time is the actual time given by your processor to your program. So what is the difference between these two? As we know, we are working on multitasking operating systems in Windows. When we work, there are several applications that are running parallelly, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Suppose there is a process A, another process B, another process C, and another process D. There are 4 processes. These all are running parallelly at the same time, but actually the processor is one in your CPU, in your computer. So what it will do, it will divide the CPU clock time into equal number of intervals. And how many programs are there? There are 4 programs. So it will divide its CPU clock time to 4 intervals. 1/4 will be given to part A. When this 1/4 time is going to complete, it switch over to part B. Again, when this 1/4 time is going to complete, it will switch to C. Again, it will switch to D. And it does continuously. And CPU does it continuously until and unless any of the program is completed. So the actual time given to process A, the actual control of CPU, the actual time the CPU is engaged with the process A is known as CPU time. We are considering that all the programs are running parallelly, but internally it does not do so. It provides its fraction or portion of time to an individual process in order to complete it. But if it is not completed, it switch over to the next process running or waiting in the queue. So there is the difference in wall clock time. In wall clock time, while we the clock time starts while we submit the program to run, and the completion time when it prints the output. ये दोनों के बीच का है. वॉल क्लॉक टाइम क्या है? जब हमने किसी टास्क को सबमिट किया या प्रोग्राम को रन कराया, तो कंप्लीशन टाइम तक का जो भी एक्चुअल टाइम पीरियड है एज पर यूज़र, दैट इज़ वॉल क्लॉक टाइम. बट मीनवाइल CPU always not responding to that program, always not responding to that program. So the actual time the CPU is engaged with your program is known as the CPU time. But the performance is inversely proportional to wall clock time. What is the meaning of inversely proportional to wall clock time? Inversely proportional to wall clock time means as the performance increases, the wall clock time decreases, and as the wall clock time increases, the performance decreases. So performance equals to 1 upon execution time of X. There is a question in your book. If a particular desktop runs a program in 60 seconds and a laptop runs the same program in 90 seconds, how much faster is the desktop than the laptop? So here is a formula. Performance of X divided by performance of Y equals to execution time of Y divided by execution time of X equals to N. So performance of desktop is 1 upon 60. Why 1 upon 60? In previous slide, performance equals to 1 upon execution time. So 1 upon execution time of laptop, 1 upon execution time of laptop is laptop equals to 1 upon 60, and desktop equals to 1 upon 90, and 1 upon 60 upon 1 upon 90 equals to 1 upon 60 into 90 upon 1, and that is, while calculating 90 upon 60, the result will be 1.5. So X is n times faster than Y, means execution time of Y is n times longer than that of X. So now the question is efficiency of program in terms of time. There are two type of efficiency. The first one is space efficiency and the second one is time efficiency. So two important factors responsible for efficiency of algo, that is time and amount of space. Out of the two, presently we are discussing time taken. So time complexity of a program is the number of elementary instructions. Number of elementary instructions means basic instructions that the program executes, and this number of instructions calculated with respect to the size n of input data. We calculate time complexity, always keep in mind the size of the input, and the size of the input in our case is n. So running time of an algo is influenced by several factors, as we have discussed earlier. That is the speed of the machine, that is speed of your computer, the programming language you have chosen, like C, C++. As you know it very well, that program written in assembly language runs faster in comparison to C and C++, and the program designed in C and C++ are faster than Java, and the Java's programs are faster than the program written in Python. So, and the size of the input. So here we are not discussing the size of the input like 2 bytes, 4 bytes. We are discussing the size of inputs when the input is too large to handle. Too large to handle means, suppose we are processing 5,000 records. It will take definitely more time than processing 5 records at a time. And the organization of the input. And the organization of the input means, if the item we are searching for is at the top of the list, definitely it will process quickly. Now the term is big O notation. What is big O notation? The big O or big omega notation is very helpful for comparing the performance of 2 or more algos. Whenever we read the algo, we first read the big O notation of that algo. The big O notation is used to discuss the growth rate of an algo. And what is the growth rate? The growth rate decides the algo's performance when the input size grows. Through big O, the upper bound of an algo's performance is specified. Always keep in mind. Here is an important point for you. Through big O notation, always the upper bound of an algo's performance is specified, not lower bound. We will always discuss the worst case through big O notation. Worst case means the maximum time an algo can take to process n size of input. So if algo takes O(n) square time, it means algo will take at the most n square steps for input size n. Time complexity of a program is the number of elementary instructions that the program executes. This number is computed with respect to the size n of the input data. So if the big O notation represents the order n square, it means for input size n, we have to take n square steps. We have to take n square steps. O(n) means algo will take n steps for input n, and O(1) means algo will take 1 step for input n. So here is a comparison table. Here is the size of n. The size of n is 10, 20, 40 and 100. And in row 1, the size of complexity is, the growth rate of complexity is n square. So if the size is n square means you will have to take 100 steps. For 20 you will have to take 400. For 40 you will have to take 1600, and for 100 you have to take 10,000. And for 2 to the power n growth rate, you have to take 1024 steps. For 20 you have to take 1048576, and 40 10 to the power 12, and for 100 1.226 into 10 to the power 30. We can clearly see here the difference between the two growth rates. In n square, it requires 100 steps in case when the size of input is 10, but when the complexity is 2 to the power n, it will take 1024. and these figures are sufficient to explain that which one is better. So performance of an algo is inversely proportional to the wall clock time. As I have already told you, the performance increases, the wall clock time decreases, and that when wall clock time increases, the performance definitely will decrease. So what I want to say, the program with a bigger O runs slower than the program with a smaller O, because O, big O notation, shows the upper bound. It shows the upper bound, that is the worst case of an algo. Now, in terms to calculate the complexity, there are certain terms which we should discuss first. The first term is dominant term. That is the one that grows faster in the long run. Suppose here is an example, 5n plus 3. 5n plus 3. If n equals to 1, what will be the result? 5 into 1 plus 3. But when n equals to 50, now the result is 5 into 50 plus 3, that is 253. So which one is the dominant term? Definitely the dominant term is n, because the n will decide how many steps you will have to take. So always keep it in your mind whenever we are going to find the dominant term in an expression. Always ignore the constants. Always ignore the constants and keep the highest order term. For example, in quadratic expression, here is ax square plus bx plus c. So what is the higher order? What is the maximum? The maximum is x square. So ignore these and ignore this term. I think it is very clear to all of you. The fundamental is that in this example, in the example 5n plus 3, the time is linear in n. As the n increases, the time also increases. As n gets large, concentrate on the highest order term. Drop the lower order terms such as plus 3, ignore it, and drop the constant coefficient of the highest order term, that is n, in the example 5. And now performance measurement in terms of number of operations. So whenever we count the number of operations, simply count the mathematical operations, how many mathematical operations you have to perform, how many comparisons your program is going to do, how many assignments your program is going to do, and how many objects it is going to access from the memory. And normally our criteria is we count same all the arithmetical operations, while it is not true, as we all are aware that computer can do only addition. It doesn't know any other kind of arithmetical operation. It can do only addition. So what is the meaning of 2 into 10? It means add 2 10 times. So here is an example and we will discuss it. Here is a program to calculate the factorial value. Here is answer equals to 1. Suppose one step, answer into equals to n. There are two different operations in this. Two different operations. What are these operations? These operations are answer equals to answer into n. First operation is multiplication and the second operation is assignment. Again 2, and in this one n minus equals to 1 means n equals to n minus 1. So again there are two operations, and these and return ans, it will work one as one operation, and these two operations will run n times. I think it is very clear to all of you. These two operations, answer asterisk equals to n means it is a shorthand notation of operator. Answer equals to answer into 10. So there are two basic operations. The first one is arithmetical operation multiplication, and the second one is assignment. And in the next statement, n minus equals to 1, there are two different operations. The first one is subtraction of 1 from n, and the second one is assignment. So these four operations will run n times. Each of them will run n times. So how many steps are required to run this program? It will take, suppose we consider these as single statement, so it will take 2n plus 1, and this one is for return statement, and it will work for return statement. Whenever we count the number of operations to measure the performance of an algo, we should focus on the 5 things. The first one is loop, second one is nested loop, third one is consecutive statement, next one is if else statement, and the last one is logarithmic complexity. So now we should start with the first one. That one is loop, performance measurement in terms of number of operations. So first one is num equals to int input, enter any number. Suppose it will take the constant time c, c1, and for I in range 11, it will work for 10 times plus 1. This one is when the condition is going to false, and print num into I. This one is one operation and will executed 10 times. So suppose this one will take constant time c2, and this statement will run n times. So here is, add all of these, n into c2 plus c1, and as per our previous discussion, always ignore this one and ignore the constant. So what will be the degree of this? The big O of this is O of n. And what's about for nested loop? It will take n, and for each value of this, upon each value of I, it will take again n. And this statement, suppose we discuss it as c1 and treat it as c2. So that this c1 will be run n into n times, and this c2 will run only n times. So here we add these all, c1 into n square plus c2 into n. So what I told you, is always consider the higher degree, that is the big O of this complexity, this nested loop is O n square. Move to next one. Here is a consecutive statement. Num equals to int input. Suppose it will take constant time c1. For loop for I in range so and so, print so and so, it will run suppose n time. I am ignoring this 11 n time, and this will take constant time c2. So the total time for this one is c2 into n. What will be the degree of this overall consecutive statements block? That one is c2 into n plus c1. Ignore this and ignore this constant, so the big O of this is O n. Again, find out the complexity of this if else statement. If length of x is not equals to length of y, return false. Suppose it will take constant time c1, else this block will execute n times, because the loop will run n time, n into, and it will take the time c2. So n into c2 plus c1. Again the big O notation is n. Now it is the time to compute logarithmic complexity. So from this discussion we can conclude that O1, the big O1, what is the meaning of this? It will take one constant time for n input, always less than log n, and it will always less than n, and it is less than O n log n, and this one is less than O n square, and this will be less than O n factorial. How can we say? It will take constant time 1 unit, one statement, and if the input is n, log of n will be approximately half of the n, so definitely it will be less than n, and when n multiplied by its half, definitely it will be greater than this n, and n square will definitely will be greater than n log n, and the factorial n has the maximum number of steps for input size n. So means logarithmic complexity means an algo performance time has logarithmic factor, just as in case of binary search. It takes constant time to cut the size by fraction, usually by half. That is, after every iteration, the number of possibility for iteration is reduced by half, like in binary search. So there are three types of cases, cases of to measure the performance of an algo: the best case performance, the worst case performance, and the average case performance. So what will be the best case performance to search for a number in a list? the best possibility is the number is at the first position. And what is the worst possibility? The worst possibility is this, that number will be at the last position or the number will not be in the list. And the average case is in between of both these. So the best case means an algo is performing its intended operation using minimum number of steps. As I have told you earlier, the worst case is an algo is performing its intended operation using maximum number of steps, and the average case means between the best and the worst case, that is the average number of steps. There is a program for linear search. We are going to search an element X in a list. List is L, and the element to be searched for is X, position equals to 0. Finding the length of the list and check the position. If the position is less than the size of the list and X, that is the element to be searched for, is not at the L position, then increase the position by 1. If the position is less than N, return the position plus 1, otherwise return none. So the list is 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. Suppose we are giving here, enter the number, and we want to search for 20. The value of X will be 20 and the list is 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. The value of initial value of position is 0. Length of the list is 5. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5. So while position is less than N, that is the condition, while 0 is less than 5 and X, that is 20, is not equals to L 0 position of L, and the 0 position of L has 10, while 1 position has 20, second, third and fourth. So what will it do? I am starting it again. Position, initial value of the position is 0. N equals to length of L, that is 5. While position is less than N, 0 is less than 5 and X not equals to L की position, then position equals to 1. Again going to compare this one, and at the next time we will find the element to be searched for 20 and the position is 1. So if position, it will break the loop, as here clearly mentions X not equals to L position, while in our case it is equal to that. So it will break the loop and going to this if condition, if position is less than N, return position plus 1. So definitely it is less than N, so it will return 1 plus 1, that is 2, and this one is the position, not the index. In list it is at second position but at first index. Now the efficiency of program in terms of number of operations in case of linear search. As I have discussed, in case of linear search, the best case is the element we are searching for is at first place, and the worst case is the element to which we are searching for is at the last position or it does not exist in the list, and the average case is in between these two cases. Here is binary search. Here is the explanation for binary search. The explanation is, here are some values 2, 4, 6, 13, 16, 25, 38, 60, 72, 90, and in these cases suppose we want to search for 25. What is the logic for binary search? Suppose it is a list. One compulsory condition for binary search is the list must be in sorted order, either in ascending order and or in descending order. For very first location, we declare it is as start or beginning, and last position we declare it as end or finish. What all we have to do is to find out the midterm, and the midterm is this one, beginning plus end divided by 2, and this double slash is used for integer division. It will give you only the integer portion. If x equals to L mid, then return mid plus 1, otherwise compare it that if x is less than alpha mid, then end equals to mid minus 1, otherwise beginning equals to mid plus 1. We can shift either beginning from left side to right side or end from right side to left side and find out the new mid in each and every case, in each and every iteration. So here we can see, suppose we are searching for 25 in this list. Here beginning is 0 and the ending is 9. So where will be the mid? The mid will be 0 plus 9 divided by 2, that is 4. So here is our mid position. Now we can compare 2, 4, 6. We can compare our element. Our element that we are going to search for is 25. Here we can check whether the 25 is greater than or less than mid value, and we can find it that the 25 is greater than 16. So what all we have to do is to shift the beginning from this place to this place and calculate the new mid. The new mid is 5 plus 9 divided by 2, that is 7. Now again we check it whether it is less than the value we are going to find or greater than the value. Again, when we compare it with our value, we can find it very easily that the value we are going to search for is less than this value. So now it is the time to shift the end to this place. So now the shift end equals to 9 to equals to 6. Now the new value is 5 plus 6 divided by 2, that is 5, and this is the value we are going to find. So in the binary search program, we can see easily that the whole list is divided into two parts, divided into two halves. The first half is that the value we are going to find it with first half. We can easily find out whether it will exist in this half or not, and accordingly we will move to either left side or right side. That is, either we have to move the beginning pointer or we'll have to move end pointer to find out the new mid. So at iteration number 1, length of array is n, but at iteration number 2, length of array is n upon 2. Why? Because it divides the list into two halves. And at iteration number 3, length of the array is again the half of the halves, that is n upon 2 square. So suppose it will take iteration k. So what will be the length of the array after kth iteration? It will be n upon 2 to the power k. After k divisions, length of array n equals to 2 to the power k. Therefore, length of array is n upon 2 to the power k equals to 1. So we can say n equals to 2 to the power k. So now applying log function on both sides, log 2 of n and log 2 of 2k. And whenever we applying the log base 2 to any value, we can assume it that log 2 of n equals to k into log 2 of 2, and log a with base a equals to 1, that is k equals to log 2 of n. And this is the program for binary search. So now common growth rate, as I have discussed earlier, growth rate with big O notation. O notation 1 means order 1, that is constant. O log n, that is logarithmic. O n, that is linear. O n log n, that is n log n. And O n square means quadratic. And I have told you earlier that always O1 is less than O log n, and it will less than O n, and it will be less than O n log n, and it will less than O n square, and it will be less than O n factorial. I think it is clear to all of you. So now, how to increase the efficiency of a program? So in order to increase the efficiency of the program, keep your code compact and simple as possible, and the looping constructor should be kept to the bare minimum, because the work that a loop can do can also be done with the help of recursive call of the functions, and recursive operations are more efficient than sequential programs when the large number of instructions to be executed. Keep it in your mind, when the instructions are very large in number, then a recursive call definitely will be beneficial to you. Otherwise, a normal iteration process can do your task in a much shorter way. And the correctness and robustness of the program should be considered first. Efficiency will be considered second. Effectiveness will be considered first. Proper identifier name should be used to increase the readability, and the best case, worst case, and average case should be considered first before writing the program for a task. And now I am going to show you the time complexity, or show how to calculate the time taken by a program. So for this, we have some practical session. So here I have designed 3 programs to calculate the factorial value. One with the normal iterative method and without function. And the second program I have designed with the iterative method but with the help of the function. And the last program which I have designed is with the recursive method without iteration. So now we will decide which program will take the less time. For this calculation, first of all, you have to import the time module. Import time, then use time method of the time module and store the present time in a variable that is start. Then ask the user to input a number, result equals to 1, initialize the res with 1, and for iteration, while number is greater than 0, result equals to result into num. Num minus equals to 1 means decrease the value of num by 1. Okay, And the last, after printing the result of this factorial value, I have again calculated, I have again demanded the time from the system, that is end equals to time dot time, and print the difference between the time of starting and the time of ending. So it will show you the total time taken by your program. Now I am going to run this program. As you can see here, I have entered the number 50 and the total time taken is 10.0855 seconds. Again, now I am going to run the second one. That one is with iterative method and with function for same input. And for same input, it takes the time 15.15419 seconds. And with recursive call method, now I am going to run the recursive call method for the same input. And here we can see it takes 4.622 seconds. So when we compare the time taken by these three programs, the first one without iterative method and without function, it is taking 10 seconds approximately, and the function with iterative methods is taking 15 seconds, while without iterative method the recursive call of that function is taking 4.622 seconds. So here we can see, or we conclude, that the recursive call is more efficient in terms of time complexity, as it is taking minimum time in comparison of these three types of programs. I want to again run these programs for another input. The first one is for 5. The time taken by this program is 2.90 second. In second one for 5, the time taken 2.26 seconds. While in the first one it is taking 2.90 seconds, and in the last one it is taking 2.161, while the number is very small. The number is only 5. And again we conclude that the recursive method is taking much less time than that of the non-recursive methods and without method or without function, the normal iterational approach. Now once again I am going to run this program with a large value. Now the value is 200. The time taken is 3.346, and the second approach, the time taken is 2.84, and in third approach the time taken is 2.86. And now again when we are going to compare these three, we can see that the method, whether it is recursive or non-recursive, they are taking approximately equal time. So what I want to say, or what I want to show you, is that the recursive calls are not always better. These are not always better or not always the best in all situations. It depends on the situation, it depends on the method you are going to adopt, and it depends on the data you are going to work on. So now I conclude this, that these are the methods. You have to adopt some tricky approach. First you have to record the time before starting the program, and after completion your program you again record the CPU time and take the difference between these two times and print it, and it will show you the time taken by your program or your. So now I think the this session is very helpful to all of you, and I hope if you like it, I hope you like it, and if you like, then subscribe and like this video.